Chronology and correspondence of a struggle against French prisons. April 1989 to November 1990. The sabotage operation carried out against various enterprises involved in the construction of the new prisons started at the end of April 1989. Anyone who accepted a role in this construction program was, in fact, exposed to some reprisals from our side. Since we risk being among the victims of this 13,000 project at any moment, we have been able to partially fulfill a completely natural rage and break with the decadence of our epoch that allows anything to be done as long as there are economic or state reasons. It had become urgent to put a bit of ethics into public affairs, and to do so in such a way that none of the enterprises stirred up against us would go completely unpunished. The total silence of the local and national press about our sabotage activity reveals, on the contrary, all its scandalous significance. Those who have spoken so much about the construction of new prisons have put the same care into silencing our actions. Whether they acted on other people's orders or on their own initiative, we find in it the same conspiracy of silence in the state's service. We salute the decidedly fitting act of vandalism against the construction site of the Villepinte prison in January 1990. With the simple aid of the bulldozers available at the site, the ingenious saboteurs completely devastated the installations and constructions already carried out. Needless to say that in reporting the news, the press went so far as to coin a new description, that of terrorist vandalism. Between the end of April and the end of June, we entered various sites: Aix-les-Mets, Tarascon, Villeneuve-les-Maguelons, Pontoise, Maubeuge, Bapaume, where we rendered the concrete meant for the building sites useless, thanks to a procedure of elementary simplicity. In fact, sugar, mixed in the cement at a proportion of 1 to 1,000, or about 2 pounds to a ton, hinders the concrete from setting, definitively weakening it so it becomes crumbly as soon as it dries. Even though we weren't able to monitor our action, we still have the satisfaction of having caused the construction companies in charge to lose time and money, and of thinking that certain walls aren't as solid as they seem. In conjunction with this operation, we carried out some interventions in municipal halls, plundering the prison plans, which we stole easily under the pretext of wanting to examine the construction permits. Our aim is to make them available to all to make an expedient use of them. We are displeased that these thefts were not more numerous, considering the extreme importance of the matter. On May 1st in Toul, we were persuaded to consider the Brugeaud case. This public works enterprise, employed in the construction of the Neuvec-sur-Aille and Uzerche prison, kindly furnished us with a part of the blueprints and a bookkeeping dossier relating to the Uzerche construction site. After this theft, the premises, papers, and offices were perfumed with ammonia. What follows is some correspondence of letters sent to various targets. Paris, March 2nd, 1990. Subject: Destruction. Sirs, almost a year has passed since we seized the opportunity for entering your offices and taking away a detailed dossier about your participation in the construction of the Uzerche prison. You know, the one where prisoners will be used as guinea pigs for experimentation with electronic bracelets attached to the ankle for controlling their movements inside the walls. A year is a long time. It could be that you have forgotten us. Let's take time to refresh your memory. Perhaps you hoped that your geographic isolation would be enough to guarantee yourselves a certain anonymity and to preserve the fine progress of the contract signed between you and Fouguereau. You were discovered, sinister builders. The addresses of your regional agencies and your banking contacts hold no more secrets for us. Don't doubt it, we have consulted them with all of the interest that they deserve. Os Cangaceiros. On May 14th, the branch office of the GTM in Saint-Gelais-du-Fesque was appropriately damaged. All materials, offices, and dossiers were methodically covered with acid and ammonia. We are sure that the total damage was fairly high. Besides, we brought back precious booty from this expedition. Detailed information about participants in this enterprise, prison plans for Villeneuve-les-Maguelons, along with technical documentation on the security of the prisons. Paris, February 28, 1990. Subject: Destruction. Sirs, our journey into your premises dates back to several months ago. It was a beautiful Sunday, May 14th, 1989, so we think it would be useful to rekindle your memory. Time passes so quickly. That same time that has been withheld from the walls of the prisons that you continue to build. It's important for us to thank you for the abundant documentation about the prison construction sites of the South region where you build, which you courteously left available to us. Our association has made a detailed study of them, the results of which will soon be made known to all. For GTM, the expansion and modernization of the French prison system represents a lucrative market. What your expertise in technology reserves for thousands of individuals like ourselves is not merely imprisonment, which would already be too much, but furthermore, the elimination of every possibility of mutiny or escape. You seem to think this result has already been gained, to the extent that it didn't even pass through your head that it might provoke a revolt in advance, or a series of undertakings of a different mark. You will realize that you are wrong. The money that there is to gain in this project has gone so much to your head that it makes you forget every other connected consideration. So we were pleasantly surprised by your negligence. Such confidential documents in such a poorly protected premises? Perhaps the surprise may have been less pleasant for your clients from the Judiciary Administration. The awful condition in which we left your offices as we left, this is the only future that we desire for your prison projects. Os Cangaceiros. Paris, March 2nd, 1990. Mr. Eladari René, Director of the Project 13,000, care of the Prison Administration. Subject: Information. Sir, we have the pleasure of making you receive a copy of the letter that we took measures to send to the GTM company. Since you are the one responsible for the good progress and reliability of this project, we are sure that it will interest you to see the disappearance of a certain number of confidential documents removed from building sites in the South mentioned there. Do not doubt that we will keep you well informed of our labors. Os Cangaceiros. On November 25th, we took interest in the SCBTP in Pontoise, which is to blame for carrying out most of the work on the Osny prison, as subcontractors for the account of Spier Batignolles. Their van and truck warehouse went up in smoke. Paris, March 1st, 1990. The Society for Buildings and Public Works of Côte-de-Veille. Subject: Destruction. On the night of November 25th, 1989, you suddenly had a sinister fire that was not at all accidental, contrary to what you tried to make everyone believe. Well, yes, what bad luck. Your company's motor vehicles were located at the building site of the future prison in Pontoise. Consequently, they were destroyed, thanks to our diligence. Perhaps you thought that if you didn't play a primary role, you would have nothing to fear while working up there. Or more simply, you never even thought that there might be anything to fear, and no one took the trouble to warn you. In any case, you didn't have many scruples. From the moment that there was a good profit to be made that would move business forward, what did it matter to you that you were working on the construction of a prison? Was it only a building site, inert materials? We are among those who risk ending up in one of those lifeless places someday. To pigs and profligates of your kind, be careful. You will have to tell your insurance company that it was not an accident, but an act of arson. Os Cangaceiros. Copies to Spier Batignolles, the Judiciary Administration, your insurance company. On January 25th, 1990, we indulged in irreparable forays against the electronic panel of the cement company in Salon de Provence. Bétons de France, Cement of France, supplies the building sites of the South region. What's more, 2 cement mixers were cleaned with acid. February 5th, 1990. Attention, Bétons de France. Subject: Destruction. Sirs, with this letter, we reconfirm for you the terms of our visit of Thursday, January 25th of this year. Your cement has a foul odor, that of cells. You believed that you would be able to pour it in complete tranquility, in order to bury future prisoners in the prison of Salon de Provence. But the market of the 13,000 places, which was supposed to guarantee your prosperity, does not, in any case, guarantee your safety. Our passage has demonstrated this. Once again, sir, you have the expression of our most devastating feelings. Os Cangaceiros. On the night between February 11th and 12th, on the outskirts of Bordeaux, it was the Forclum establishment's turn to be seriously damaged by fire. One should know that this company is responsible for providing anti-escape security for the entire West region. This is the company that supplies the prisons with alarms and security cameras and guarantees the installation of the fortification of control. Lyon, March 29, 1990. Society Forclum. Subject: Sacking. Sirs, our visit to your establishment between February 11 and 12, 1990 requires some consideration from our side. We had the opportunity of observing how your company, which brags about operating in the field of prison security, is nonetheless curiously incapable of watching its own back. In fact, we only had to push one of the windows of your offices in order to get in and operate there without encountering the smallest obstacle. In addition, reading your dossier, as tedious as it was, proved to be extremely instructive. Allows us to note that you lack discretion. Did the fact that you work for the state give you security and a sense of impunity that you thought nothing could disturb? Nothing, in fact, except our intervention. Your customers will probably be amazed to discover the ease with which one can get by you to gather confidential information. Rest assured that we will know how to make good use of everything that was not destroyed. Os Cangaceiros. Copies to Mr. Eladari René, Director of the Project 13,000, GTM, Agency of Saint-Galais de Fisc, Sogea Limousin, Limoges CX. On February 23rd in Paris, the architect Christian Demonchi fell into an ambush along the path that he habitually takes to go to work. Two of us thoroughly pummeled him before the eyes of passers-by. Among other things, he is already responsible for a Club Mediterranean in Morocco and for the prisons in Malzac as part of the Badinter program. Now this colorless person works at Jeannette Demonche's studio on the design of prisons in the North region in the framework of the Chalandon program. Shortly thereafter, we informed other designers responsible for the project by post about how much such activity can cost, so that now they can no longer pretend to ignore it. Paris, February 27, 1990. Mr. Demonche Christian. Subject: Ambush. Have you recovered from your wounds, architect? Have you guessed why it happened? Shamelessly, without a single scruple, inch by inch, you have designed the cells in which even the handicapped will be locked up. Inside the walls that you design, people who are worth much more than you are will be beaten regularly. It was about time that you had a taste of what thousands of prisoners will have to suffer to a much greater degree. Of course, architect, your corporation is no less infamous. Seeing the habitations you construct for normal city dwellers, one can recognize your competence for locking up delinquents. It is easy to pass from the towers of the 13th district to the prison cell. Pig, seeing your snout up close, we were able to observe on your weary face how much you busy yourself with your projects. Earlier you built walls, now you keep close to them. Os Cangaceiros. Paris, March 1st, 1990. Noël Janet. Subject: Supplemental information. Sad clone. We have noticed your collaboration with Demonchi. His misadventure of February 23rd, 1990 has probably left you perplexed. Two-headed gangs like yours proliferate thanks to state subsidies. All contribute in their own way to an architecture of imprisonment, so convenient to the police-based city planning of our times. Some are dedicated to devastating space according to the imperatives of real estate speculation. Others, like yourself, have thought it profitable to give form to the Orwellian nightmares of the state. You believed that you acted in complete neutrality, protected by your art. We thought otherwise. In case your head is elsewhere, notice that of your associate who had the privilege of getting information firsthand. Os Cangaceiros. On February 21st in Vincennes, we sprayed a CS gas concentrate into the premises of the Astron firm, causing a temporary stop of activity. This research office delivers prison workshops, key in hand. Paris, March 2nd, 1990. To the Astron firm, Vincennes. Subject: Gassing. Slaves. Thus the great city planning project of the end of the century is planned. The program of 13,000 places. We are well aware that your participation is carried out in the delivery of workshops key in hand. The deprivation of freedom is effectively joined with the exploitation of prisoners' labor. We know that this is the least of your worries, all the more so because we have been able to directly ascertain your disgusting diligence at work. If you are willing to remain bent over your drawing tables until Sunday evening, we have no doubt that you are also working wearing gas masks. Unfortunately, the CS gas that we introduce into your premises is only a tiny taste of what is administered in a massive dose to any prisoner who rebels. We do not greet you miserable pen pushers. Os Cangaceiros. Toward the middle of April in Laon, it was time for the control panel of the central office of the ORSA Cement Company to be destroyed, just when ORSA cement mixers were traveling here and there, delivering cement to building sites. September 17th, 1990. Addressee, ORSA Cement. Subject, our journey through your premises in the middle of April 1990. You in your beautiful central office of a cement company. You content. You building Laon prison. We pissed off. We destroying computerized control panel. You pissed off. We preferring you pissed off. We content. At the beginning of July, with the aim of assuring our activities all the publicity it deserves, we procured a list of 70,000 addresses on adhesive labels in a fraudulent manner at the expense of Téléadresse, a commercial service of France Telecom. At the post office's expense, by reproducing postmarks from various postage meters, we intend to go ahead with a massive mailing of some copies of plans surrounded by samples of dossiers in our possession. We will do this in the following cities: Aix-en-Provence, Alençon, Argentan, Arles, Arras, Auxerre, Bapaume, Beaucaire, Joux-la-Ville, Laon, Lille, Marseille, Montpellier, Neuvec-sur-Isle, Paris, Périgueux, Salon de Provence, Tarascon, Villeneuve-les-Maguelons, and not forgetting some mailings addressed specifically to the Judiciary Administration as well as the principal directors of the enterprises involved. At the beginning of November, we began to circulate an exhaustive dossier about prisons. Bringing the existence of this dossier to the awareness of all, we gambled on the curiosity and interest that it would have been able to provoke in an age when everything that appears on the media stage is dictated by the spectacle of the moment. Obviously, we figure that we will enter on this stage as enemies. Letter attached to the dispatch of the plans. Beginning of November 1990. Dear Madame, dear Sir, of course, you are aware that a prison building is being put into action not far from your home in the territory of the blank municipality. Starting today, we are putting some plans for the project into circulation, along with some information on the general operation and its security apparatus. We passionately hope that this might help prisoners who plan an escape. In particular, we think of those who find themselves in solitary confinement and who, being badly oriented in the prison area, are thus hindered considerably in their plans for escape. This is only an extract from an exhaustive dossier of greater workmanship that will be distributed soon to a wider public. This is why we invite you to distribute this documentation as far as possible around you, first of all making more photocopies. Thus, one could hope that it reaches those interested through their neighbors, relatives, and friends. Our initiative may surprise you. It might be that people who are subjected to a high level of electronic surveillance, who are left to the arbitrary abuse of guard crews in cages of steel and cement, and who still rebel more and more frequently, are not alone in their rage. Although not all prisoners are outcasts or rebels, any poor wretch who has no intention of adapting himself to the dehumanizing mechanisms of this society, and, with greater reason, anyone who rebels against it, sooner or later risks prison in one way or another. We are among these people. In recent years, European prisons have become places where social dissent is expressed. This society succeeded so well in creating emptiness and silence everywhere that paradoxically it is within those walls that the aspiration for freedom is still able to make itself heard, in the West as in the East. The structure in such and such a place is an early presentation of the project of 13,000 places. This project has the precise aim of breaking the movement of insubordination that is going through the prisons of this country since the mutiny of 1985. It is not at all a humanization of the prison regime as the liars of the state service claim. Our aim, on the other hand, is the generalization of this revolt, inside and outside the walls. Don't think that it was easy for us to obtain these plans and this technical documentation. However, we considered it proper to fraudulently appropriate the means necessary for the present mailing at the expense of Telecom and the Postal Service. It is rather interesting that various services made available to modern firms, intended to promote the smooth functioning of society, can be diverted with a diametrically opposed aim. We hope that public curiosity takes care of the rest. Only the force of communication can break down prison walls. You will surely be happy, dear Madame, dear Sir, to learn exclusively that the walls of some structures are not as solid as they seem. Our association tested a very simple procedure at the launching of the construction sites. Sugar, in the proportion of 1 to 1,000, that is, 2 pounds per tons of cement, hinders the hardening of the cement, so that when it dries, it becomes crumbly. We haven't ruled out making the effort of communication with you by phone in order to learn what your reactions to receiving this mailing have been, and possibly discussing the reasons for it. Dear Madame, dear Sir, we ask you to accept the expression of our highest regards. Os Cangaceiros.
Trop tard pour se la fermer, trop tôt pour en finir, malgré la peur d'y rester, de ne jamais en revenir.